Dear audience, welcome to the show POWERchat. In today's episode, we are going to discuss the status of social work education in Nepal and abroad. Joining me today are Dr. Stephen Palmer from the University of Griffith and Ms. Pradipta Kadambari, Executive Director at the Nepal School of Social Work. Please allow me to welcome them. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Yes, I've had 3 weeks in Nepal now and thoroughly enjoying being in the country.
So this is your seventh time visiting
Seventh
Nepal.
time visiting Nepal. So I've been involved in a number of international projects located in Nepal, two with an emphasis on child exploitation and child labour. So this has brought me back to Nepal on a number of occasions to work with an INGO and local NGOs in developing capacity and supporting them around their core social work in assisting children who are vulnerable.
Well, next half an hour we'll be discussing the scope and status of social work education in your country, in Australia, and also in Nepal. For that, joining us, Ms. Pradipta Kadambari from the Nepal School of Social Work. I will first go with you and tell us about the status and scope of social work education in terms of the market in Australia. Of course, you are in Nepal and you are here with your students, and scope abroad as well, and how universities are offering this course and what is the market of social work education there.
So social work in Australia is going from strength to strength. It is a profession that is it's building its reputation, and there's some great work that is being done in terms of social work practice throughout our nation. We have very, very strong programs offered in universities across Australia that are providing rigorous training for people who are wishing to enter into the field of social work. Social work is not a regulated profession in Australia, but we have a professional body, the Australian Association of Social Workers, and so social work graduates are encouraged to identify with and...
What does that body in particular do?
So the body provides support to social work professionals, provides policy and frameworks to inform the practice of social workers throughout the nation. Also, it serves to provide ongoing training and development of social work graduates to ensure that social work in Australia is a profession that is at the cutting edge and is doing great social work within various sectors of within society.
So the university you belong, you teaching with, offers different disciplines of the social work.
Yes. So I'm with Griffith University in southeast Queensland in Australia, and we offer a number of social work programs. We have the Bachelor of Social Work, which is a 4-year degree. We also have a Master's qualifying program, which allows students to who have a qualification, an undergraduate qualification that is sympathetic to social work, the discipline of social work, to be able to come and do a master's degree in social work, so that then they're able to train to practice as social workers. We also have a human services degree, which is a 3-year program, which also trains human services professionals.
I'll come back to you later. Ms. Kadambari, would you highlight on the courses that your college offers?
Our course is recently upgraded to 4 years bachelor's program from last year, and before that we were having a 3 years of bachelor program BSW, and our program is focusing on making social work practitioners, having all the components of micro social work, major social work, and macro social work. And our course emphasizes on child rights and family social work. So we have these components juvenile justice, child rights, and then family social work, along with other components. Now we are improvising on and working on 4 years curriculum. So we have proposed university to make it more multidimensional, and including as much as the issues or aspects that social workers can work. And we have included disaster social work, international social work, and other components like a block placement, bigger platform to engage with community.
Well, how do you justify that the courses you are offering at the college that meet market demands? And since you are working with the international academic locations and you are engaged in the exchange of students and faculties around the world, do you think that the courses that you offer within the universities of Nepal, they have some sort of link with the international degrees so that students enjoy studying social work courses here in Nepal?
Yeah, it was much complementing with international universities. So our students, after having our bachelor's done, so they have studied abroad with very easily, getting into Australian university, universities of Poland and others. So this is very complementary. How our courses are designed. So I don't see any differences. The differences earlier was 3 years. Since it's been a 4 years, so I think we have more component that probably we have missed with the international programs like Griffith. So with this Griffith University's program, I see the difference is the human services component. Because we have a list of a management of human services structures in our courses. So when our students will be graduating, we need another way to get them learn about how organizations work, a little bit more of management. Otherwise the issues, how the course progress, how they are engaged with their community to learn from their social camps, where they are similar. And one thing I have found is, like in Australia, the fieldwork placement starts little late than ours.
Okay.
We start our fieldwork placement from the first year, the first semester, to expose our students into organizational structures, observation and all these things, and probably you have this quite later as a block.
Well, in Nepal, often students and the guardians complain that the universities or the colleges, especially in the private sector, offering courses in the market that of the new genre, say social work or mass media or conflict studies, peace studies. There is a type of glamour, and the universities or colleges, when they advertise in the media, they have a lot of commitments that they do for students' welfare.
Yeah.
But on admission and after completing the courses, this is a general trend, this is a general complaint and criticism from the guardians and the market, that the students are not well updated and they don't have capacity to adjust in the market, especially that of the value education. So what do we want to say on that?
We have also studied in the same system. I'm also a product of the same system. So that experience I have from myself also of graduating and not really been so well enough to fit into a workplace. And I think in social work education, it's very practice oriented. But yes, of course, the course is run by colleges. So I think for colleges there are lots of responsibility and also a scope to make it how strong we can make it. So universities are giving us affiliation. So they are regulating our exams and all this.
You mean you are up to date with the university requirements and providing with the good education?
Yeah, it's like up to date with the university system.
Well, what is your observation about the value education?
Well, just in response to what Pradipta was saying, having collaborated now with the Nepal School of Social Work in the last 2 years, it's been interesting for me to see significant advancements that have been made, and particularly with Pradipta as CEO of Canterbury Memorial College, that they really are committed to developing a standard of social work education and practice that is in line with international standards of social work. So it's a work in progress, it's continuing to develop, but over time there's been significant international collaboration, Pradipta, that you've made with a range of universities, including Griffith University, and as part of that process, there has been significant capacity building around your suite of courses within your program, and the curriculum, in terms of curriculum development, even in terms of field work. Currently you have an Australian academic working with the college who has expertise in field education. So all of these strategies have been employed by the Nepal School of Social Work to try to achieve the aim of providing a holistic and quality education for social workers in training, so that they can go out into the field and be well equipped to work as social workers who are working within the values of social work internationally, who are applying ethics of social work to ensure that their work is really meeting the various beneficiaries, the client.
The practical part is often neglected. For example, courses that too many universities offering here, the practical portion, and that practical portion is neglected. 3 days practical, and many colleges in this country, they don't have partnerships with the industries, the NGOs, INGOs, or other agencies that would probably provide with the job opportunities on their once the students are graduated. So how do you collaborate, both of you, collaborate with the organizations so that students in the real sense get practical opportunities on completion of the course, they are also qualified for the market?
Well, what I've observed in terms of the Nepal context, particularly in my experience of working with the Nepal School of Social Work, is that Pradipta's faculty, the faculty within the Nepal School of Social Work, are building strong links with NGOs, INGOs, so that they're able to place their students in and give them experiences in the field that are going to assist them in being able to develop their practice as social workers. But I'd like to make the point that while I think it is really important that there are opportunities for students to actually develop, a practice framework by engaging the field, I don't think we can underestimate the significance of social work theory and principles of social work, ethics of social work and human services practice, and giving students a very good grounding in the theoretical aspects of social work, so that they then, when they go into the field, are able to apply these principles in an informed way, so that they're developing what we would call, in terms of Australian social work practice, a practice framework, so that it guides them as they're engaging in the field, as they're working with individuals, as they are collaborating with other workers engaging in social work practice. In Australia, we have what I believe to be a very robust system where students, unlike Nepal, our students have 2 years where they are heavily concentrating on some of the theoretical dimensions of human services and social work practice, which then equips them well to be able to then do their field placements. So in their 3rd year, in their social work degree, they have an extended field placement, a significant portion of the academic year, where they will actually be placed with a particular agency or organisation, and they will receive supervision from a trained social worker, who, as well as faculty within the School of Human Services and Social Work at Griffith, so that they're getting a really strong supervisory arrangement. So
what is your observation of the social work education that the universities in Nepal provide, since you are coming here time and again.
Yes,
And you are in
yes.
touch with the universities and the academic locations of social work education.
Yes, it's a good question. I've had limited experience and limited exposure. Really, it's been limited to my work with Kadambari Memorial College and the Nepal School of Social Work. But what I've seen of the Nepal School of Social Work, I believe that they're actually paving a way towards really ensuring that social work practitioners are provided with rigorous training. One of the early experiences I observed in the international work that I've been doing with my colleague, Professor Patrick O'Leary, is that we have been introduced to a number of workers who introduce themselves as social workers. And when I asked them about their experience in training in social work, what we're discovering is that many of these practitioners who have very good intention and who are doing some good work in the field actually do not have an undergraduate degree in social work. And so one of the issues there is around those workers having an in-depth understanding of what it means to be a social worker, what the social work profession is all about, what are the key principles and values that drive social work practice, and also too, what are some of the ethical dimensions of engaging with beneficiaries, with clients, with particular key services in the community. And one thing that I think the Nepal School of Social Work are doing very well is trying to reduce the gap in the lack of more formalised training. And so while there are many workers out there who are actually calling themselves social workers, from an international social work perspective, there would be many that would say, well, you know, in terms of international social work, that maybe that isn't the right term, the most fitting term for those workers, because as we see social work as a profession, and as part of that professional body, we're committed to providing holistic training to ensure that the practitioners are working from a strong social work framework. And I think this is where the Nepal School of Social Work are really paving the way. They're pioneering in terms of education and educational opportunity for people who are wanting to move into social work. So the inclusion of a 4-year period of training augurs well for those individuals who are wanting to engage in the field.
And where do your products go? What is your experience in Australia? After graduating, what do they do?
Many of them, there are many and varied opportunities. Many students work in child protection. Many students end up working in hospitals, working in rehabilitation, working in the area of disability. There are many who are working in the aged care sector, so working with elderly people. There are people working in juvenile justice, people working with refugees and asylum seekers. As you know, that's a big issue in the Australian scene at this point in time. There are also many graduates who are working with our First Australians, so our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So there are just so many opportunities.
What is your experience?
Yeah, in terms of job, so we have almost 200 graduates, and we barely find anyone without job. So though, as I agree with Stephen, like, you know, social work is a profession, and he finds many people in Nepal calling themselves social work, but not really fitting into the term of the professionally recognizing them in the international perspective. So here I find, like, you know, Nepal social work is still in its infancy. It's only 20 years, and for that we have to build a collaboration. It's not unilateral only to the organization where our students are placed. It's have to be a multilateral. That's why we are collaborating with the international organization, international institution like Griffith. We are a member of International Association of Social Worker, International Federation of Social Worker.
How many colleges in Nepal are member to such international bodies? Are you the one, or?
No, I'm not sure, and I can't really say that we are the only one. Other peoples might have this, linkage also. I know some another college having this.
Does that make a difference by joining the international bodies?
Yeah, it makes a lot of difference. So it's like our founding director, Dr. Balaraj Niku, he started building this linkage when we started back in 2005, because we were very new. We have a degree, we have our human resources to teach social work, but we need to learn lots from international organizations and agencies to make us in a pace with the international systems and international social work practices. Because it's not only for Nepal, so we are producing people, social workers who can work everywhere elsewhere. So that helps a lot. Like since we are a member of International Association of Social Work, when we do our revision of the curriculum revision, we can send to them, get their feedback, and they will send us with the feedback. So that's not only build our curriculum, that also build our universities. So I'm quite many times saying these things like university now have their resources as a college. They have to utilize our capacities, so that we can really build our university together as we build our courses.
Well, we talked almost the good things of social work education in Nepal, and particularly in Australia and Nepal. So what are the challenges or problems in the social work education, also in the field of social work?
The first challenge is for social work education or a profession is to get this recognition in Nepal as a social workers. Because we don't have any recognition like doctors, engineers, like you have in Australia. So they really have to fit into a different designation. But I find this is a course of evolution for social work, academics and profession. So I've been...
This is hard, that there is complete mismatch between the industry demand and the university courses in social work, and there is lack of the human resources. One without having knowledge in the area of social work or the humanitarian issues are found to be teaching at the university locations, and also there is a question on the infrastructure when it comes to Nepal. Do you face the same problem in Australia?
Well, there is a great need for social workers in Australia and human services practitioners more generally, and there's always more need for people working in human services and social work. So I strongly advocate as an academic working in the School of Human Services and Social Work for people to consider social work and human services as a viable road to take in terms of a future career. There is always going to be need. There is always, and while there are people with particular needs, there is always going to be the need for good human services and social work practitioners who have a strong framework, practice framework to guide their practice. One thing that I've observed in Nepal, as you mentioned, there is significant need. There are many social issues, as there are in Australia as well. But with some of the more recent events like the earthquake, so humanitarian aid, child trafficking, child exploitation, hazardous labour.
Right. We are coming to the end of the show. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Lamar and Ms. Kadambari, for your time. We'll be discussing these issues later as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to be here.
Dear audience, time now to wrap up the show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.